We all want more, right? I mean, not necessarily just more money, but more life.
Yeah, like fuller expression, unlocking potential, a richer existence overall.
Exactly. But the big question is there like a reliable way to actually get there? A repeatable map?
Well, that's the really extraordinary claim at the heart of our source for today's deep dive.
Okay.
We're digging into a book from way back in 1910, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles.
1910. Wow.
Mhm.
And Wattles, right from the start, he doesn't really hold back, does he?
Not at all. He basically says getting rich isn't, some lottery win. It's not about where you were born or if you have some natural gift.
He calls it an exact science.
Yeah, an exact science. As certain, he claims, as algebra or arithmetic.
Like math.
Seriously.
That's his claim. Governed by specific laws, he says, that anyone can learn and obey.
Okay, so our mission here today is to unpack what he actually means by science in this context.
Precisely. What are these laws and what is this? This certain way of thinking and acting he talked about, the way he claims will infallibly lead to getting rich.
Yeah.
That's a big
A
promise.
huge promise. And some of the ideas are, they're pretty counterintuitive.
Like what?
Like his argument that it really doesn't have much to do with your environment or even your natural talent.
Right.
Or this idea that there's an unlimited supply of wealth just available for everyone.
Unlimited supply. That definitely goes against how most people think about money.
And maybe the most startling one is his argument that getting rich is actually the noblest thing you can do.
Whoa, okay. Noblest.
Yeah.
How does he justify that? That really flies in the face of a lot of common ideas.
Well, he kind of sets the stage early on. He says, look, this isn't some philosophical debate club.
Right.
It's presented as a practical manual. He basically says, if your most urgent need right now is money, just take these ideas on faith for a bit.
Try it out.
Yeah, prove them through your own experience. It's all about adopting and consistently following what he calls the certain way.
The certain way. Okay, let's dig into that core idea then. He says getting rich isn't just, like, desirable, it's necessary. Why necessary?
He ties it directly to human potential. To fully develop your mind, your soul, your body.
You need things.
You need things to use, exactly. Books to grow your intellect, comfort for your physical well-being, opportunities to contribute, to give. That nourishes the spirit.
And in our society, that means money.
Right. You need money to acquire and use these things. So for him, getting rich is foundational. It's the starting point for really advancing and expressing yourself fully.
So to become everything you can be, you kind of need to get rich. And his definition of rich is pretty specific too, isn't it?
Very specific. It's not just having, enough or being content with just a little.
He actually calls being content with less than you need for your fullest life sinful.
Yeah, it's a strong word, definitely. But within his framework, it makes sense. He sees it as aligning with nature's basic drive, which is always towards more life advancement unfolding.
So settling for less is going against that flow.
That's his perspective. It's going against this natural, almost divine principle. So the desire for riches, for him, is actually natural and good. It's the desire for a richer, fuller life expressing itself.
Okay. And this richer, fuller life comes from this exact science.
Right.
Like algebra, which comes from doing things in a certain way.
Exactly. And this is where he starts taking apart the common beliefs about how wealth is created.
Right, like where you live.
He dismisses that.
Yeah.
Says rich people and poor people live in the same places. It's not about location.
Talent, natural gifts.
Nope. He points out that really talented people get rich, but so do people who aren't particularly talented. Same goes for staying poor.
What about saving money? Thrift.
He says that's not the main thing either. Or choosing a specific business, or even having startup capital.
So it's not environment, talent, saving, business choice, or starting money.
None of those are the primary cause, according to him. He insists that smart people get rich, and not so smart people get rich too. Strong people, weak people, the only deciding factor is doing things in this certain way. And he makes this just remarkable promise. He says it doesn't matter how poor you are now, how much debt you have.
If you start doing things this certain way,
you will get rich without fail. That's his guarantee.
That is incredibly bold. And the power to do this, he says, it doesn't come from changing your situation on the outside.
No, it comes from something much deeper, which brings us to the sort of philosophical foundation he builds.
Okay. What's the bedrock here?
The core concept is that everything is made from one single, original, formless substance.
Randomly substance.
Yeah, he calls it thinking stuff. It's not empty space. It's like this intelligent potential that permeates and fills the entire universe.
Like a universal raw material that's also aware.
Kind of. And the key idea is how things are created from it. Wattles says that a thought held within this substance produces the actual physical form of that thought.
So the universe we see
Is the visible expression of thoughts that originated in this formless substance.
Okay. And where do we humans fit in? What's our role?
Yeah. Well, humans are unique. We are thinking senders capable of original thought, not just reacting, but originating. And Wattles posits that if you can form a clear thought of something you want.
Like a goal.
Exactly. And then impress that thought onto this thinking substance, you can actually cause the creation of the thing you're thinking about.
Wow. Okay, that feels like the real engine of his science. And you have to accept this, right? He boils it down.
He does. He says you have to basically take 3 fundamental statements on faith to even start. No debating, just accept and test.
What are they?
Okay, the 3 big ones are, 1, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe.
Right, the thinking stuff.
2, a thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought.
Thought creates form. Okay.
And 3, man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created.
So we can tap into this creative process with our own thoughts.
That's the core belief. And he insists you must accept these, cast aside doubts, conflicting ideas.
Why? Why so strict?
Because he argues any doubt, any mixing of different beliefs will basically cancel out your efforts. It neutralizes the impression. The practical application starts with just accepting these premises. Period.
All right, so if that's the philosophical base, how does it translate into the mental side of things? The thinking part of the certain way?
It flows right from that base.
Yeah.
Doing things in the certain way happens because you're thinking in a certain way.
Makes sense.
But Wattles warns this is the hard part, the real work. Disciplining your mind to think how you want to think. Especially, he says, thinking truth, regardless of appearances.
Thinking truth regardless of appearances. What does that mean in practice?
It means thinking health when you're surrounded by illness. Thinking riches when all you see around you is poverty.
That sounds incredibly difficult, mentally taxing.
He admits it takes real effort, but he claims this effort builds mental power. It creates what he calls a mastermind.
A mastermind.
Yeah, a mind that isn't controlled by circumstances but can actually shape them. Conquer fate, as he puts it. He believes that really grasping the idea of the one thinking substance and your ability to impress it just dissolves doubt and fear at their root.
And this ties into his idea that poverty isn't like God's will or something.
Yes, exactly. He completely rejects that. He argues the core desire of this intelligent substance, you could call it God, the universe, whatever, is increase of life for everything, including you.
So the universe wants us to have more.
It wants you to have everything you can possibly use to live a larger, fuller life. Your own desire for riches, he says, isn't just greed. It's this universal capacity for more life trying to express itself through you.
So God actually wants you to get rich.
That's his take.
Yeah.
So he or it can express himself more fully through you when you have the means. He even says nature is inherently friendly to your plans for growth.
That's a really different spin on desire and wealth.
Right.
But you have to want it for the right reasons, presumably, not just, yachts and mansions for their own sake.
Yes, that's a really important distinction he makes. Your purpose has to align with the universe's purpose, which is more life for all. You need to want riches for real life, full expression of body, mind, soul.
Which then lets you help others more effectively.
Right. He makes this powerful point. The best way you can help the poor or the world is by making the absolute most of yourself. And in his view, that requires getting rich. Creatively, though.
Creatively, not competitively. What's the difference there?
This is absolutely crucial in his system. The thinking stuff works creatively. It makes new things. It doesn't shuffle existing things around by taking from one person to give to another.
So you can't get rich by cheating someone or outsmarting them in a zero-sum game.
Not according to this science. You have to operate on the creative plane. You must get rich in such a way that when you gain something, everyone else involved also ends up with more use value than they had before.
More value, not just more money necessarily.
Exactly, more use value. Thinking competitively, seeing life as a fixed pie where you have to grab your slice from someone else. That leads to temporary, unsatisfying results. A godless scramble, he calls it.
And this creative approach is possible because That unlimited supply idea.
Precisely. You have to ditch the thought of limited supply completely. He says there's an inexhaustible visible supply already here. PLOS, an infinite invisible supply in the formless substance that can create more whenever needed.
So don't focus on what seems scarce now.
Never. The mistake is looking at the visible stuff and thinking, oh, it's all taken. You have to fix your mind on the limitless potential in the formless, knowing it's always flowing towards you.
Okay. Accepted the philosophy, aiming for creative increase. How do you actually, direct this power mentally? What are the steps?
First, you have to form a clear, definite mental picture of what you want. Vague wishes are useless.
Like an architect's blueprint.
Exactly like that. A detailed vision in your mind of the life you want, the things you need, the wealth required for it. Really specific.
And then just hold on to that picture.
Constantly. Keep it in mind like a sailor keeps their destination port in view. Holding the picture clarifies it and strengthens your desire.
But it's not just daydreaming.
No, absolutely not. The picture needs two more things. A fixed purpose to actually realize it, and unwavering faith that it is already yours, that it's at hand, as he puts it.
Faith that it's already yours.
Yes.
Even though you don't see it yet.
Yes. He quotes the Bible verse, "Believe that ye receive them." His interpretation is, you must mentally live in the new reality now.
How do you do that?
Use your imagination. Feel the ownership, the enjoyment of the things in your picture as if they're already physically present. That's what he means by holding the vision with unwavering faith.
Okay, vision, purpose, faith, mental ownership. What about gratitude? Where does that fit?
It's fundamental, woven through the whole process. You need deep, constant gratitude, not just for what you physically have now, but for the things you possess mentally in your vision and for the source itself.
Why is gratitude so important?
He gives a few reasons. It connects you harmoniously with the formless intelligence. It seems to speed up the process, drawing things to faster. It keeps you aligned with creative power, preventing you from slipping back into doubt or competition.
So it reinforces the positive focus.
Exactly. The grateful mind focuses on the best, he says, and so it receives the best. And crucially, practicing gratitude actually builds and strengthens your faith.
So vision, purpose, faith, mental ownership now, and deep gratitude. Those are the mental keys. What about willpower? Do you use your will to, force things to happen?
Good question. He's very clear on this, and it's maybe not what you'd expect. You use your willpower only upon yourself.
Only on yourself.
To make yourself think the right thoughts. To keep your mind fixed on the vision with faith and purpose. To make yourself do things in a certain way.
So you don't use will to influence other people?
Oh.
Or events?
Absolutely not. He says that's wrong. Trying to mentally coerce others or manipulate external things is the competitive use of will, and it defeats your purpose. Keep your mind at home, he says, focused on your own internal state and actions.
Why does that defeat the purpose?
Because, he argues, the substance is already friendly. It wants to give you what you want more than you want to receive it. Your only job with your will is to keep yourself aligned, stop doubt, fear, and competitive thinking from messing up the signal you're sending.
That's a really interesting take on will. So it's a powerful set of mental disciplines. But thoughts alone don't bake bread, right? Things don't just pop into existence.
Correct. Thought is the creative power, the engine. But it absolutely must be paired with personal action.
Action is necessary.
Essential. The things you're envisioning won't just materialize without human hands or without natural processes working through existing channels like trade and commerce.
So the mental work draws the potential, but action is needed to actually, receive it.
Exactly. Your thought gets things moving toward you influencing people, circumstances, opportunities through established ways. Your action is how you position yourself to receive those things when they arrive. You have to arrange your life, your business, whatever, to be ready for it.
A big part of that action is something about value.
Yes, giving use value. This is huge.
Yeah.
In every single transaction, you must give the other person more in use value than you take from them in cash value.
More use value than cash value. How does that work?
It means you ensure whatever you sell, provide, or do is genuinely worth more to the other person than the money they pay. It ensures you're always on the creative plane, adding to life, not just extracting. You avoid any business that's about tricking or beating people.
Even with employees.
Especially with employees, if you have them. Your business should be structured like a ladder for their advancement too. They should get more value, skills, opportunity, growth than just their wages represent an effort. It's about mutual increase.
Okay. And the timing of this action.
Act now. in the present. This is critical. Put your whole mind, your whole power into the action you are doing right now.
Don't dwell on the past.
Past failures are irrelevant. Don't worry about future problems. They aren't real yet. Don't wait for the perfect situation or environment to start. Use your current environment, your current job, your current resources as the starting point to move towards the better one in your vision.
And it's not just about being busy, right? It's about how you act.
Yes, it's about the efficiency of each separate action. This is subtle but key. Every single act, Wattles says, is either a success or a failure in itself.
How so?
Doing something inefficiently, half-heartedly, is a failure, no matter how small the task. You make every act strong and efficient by holding your big vision in mind, but putting the full power of your faith and purpose into that specific act you're doing right now, even mundane stuff.
Because you see it as connected to the bigger picture, connected to that universal power working with you.
That's the idea. You're putting the force of the universe into washing the dishes or making that sales call or writing that report. And these efficient, successful actions, they add up.
They build on each other.
Cumulatively. As you keep acting this way, moving towards more life, more things just naturally attach to you. Opportunities, resources, helpful people. Progress accelerates. He suggests using lever for contemplating the vision, but work time is for focused, efficient action fueled by that vision.
Okay, so the mental side, vision, faith, purpose, gratitude is the engine. But the wheels are this disciplined, efficient, value-adding action in the present.
That's the core mechanism he lays out. Mental impression plus efficient action.
So the rest of the book sort of applies this, like finding the right job or business.
Yeah, he addresses practical things. He says it's probably easiest in a business you enjoy and where you can use your best talents.
Well, you can succeed anywhere.
He insists you can. You can develop any needed talent because everyone has the basic capacity, so you can start where you are.
And you have the right to go for the work you actually want to do.
Absolutely, even if your current job is just a stepping stone. Change often comes through growth, but you should also be ready for sudden opportunities if they clearly align with your vision.
What about when things get tough, like doubt or feeling rushed?
Good points. If doubt creeps in, he advises, pause. Go back to your mental vision, practice gratitude intensely, reconnect with the source, the all-mind.
And feeling hurried. Rushing around.
That's a sign you've lost faith, he says. You've slipped back into the competitive mindset, thinking there's not enough time or resource. The remedy: stop, call a halt, breathe, practice gratitude again, get centered back in the creative mode.
Let's circle back to that impression of increase idea. You mentioned it with a value, but how important is it just in how you interact with people generally?
Immensely important. He says everyone is seeking increase, more life, more advancement, consciously or not.
So you need to project that.
You need to be that. Be a creative center. Convey the distinct impression that you are an advancing person dedicated to increase, and that anyone who connects or deals with you will also advance and benefit as a result.
That sounds attractive.
It is. He claims this attitude naturally drives people, opportunities, and unexpected benefits towards you. People want to be around those who are growing and adding value.
But he warns against trying to dominate others.
Whoa, absolutely. That's the flip side, the competitive trap again. Seeking power over people is the opposite of the creative principle. True mastery is over yourself, your circumstances, your destiny, not other people. That's just the godless scramble in another form.
And this whole approach, the advancing man or advancing woman, it applies no matter what you do for a living.
Totally universal. Doctor, teacher, lawyer, wage earner, business owner. The principles are identical. Combine the mental work, the vision, faith, purpose, gratitude with doing everything in your current role efficiently, powerfully, radiating that sense of increase.
So if you're an employee, don't just be a good employee.
Be bigger than your current place. Hold the vision of where you're going. Do your current job so well with such purpose and efficiency that it's obvious you're ready for more. That's what attracts opportunity.
What about big obstacles, like societal problems, government policies? Do they stop this from working?
His view is interesting. He says those systems exist, but they don't prevent an individual using the certain way from getting rich. And he goes further.
Yeah.
He claims that enough individuals succeeding creatively will eventually change those systems for the better. So don't waste time worrying about them or planning for future roadblocks.
Just keep going.
Just keep going in the certain way. If an obstacle appears, deal with it then. He promises the way forward will open up.
And watch what you say.
Critically important, guard your speech. Always talk in terms of advancement, growth, things getting better. See apparent problems as just undeveloped good, Never dwell on poverty, failure, or misfortune, even in conversation. It reinforces the wrong mental image.
What if you try all this and something fails? Like a project doesn't work out?
A seeming failure, he calls it, his interpretation. It's usually not a real failure. It might mean you didn't ask for enough, or maybe something even better is on its way, and this was just clearing the path.
So keep the faith.
Keeps the faith, purpose, gratitude, and keep acting efficiently. A bigger, better result will come. And remember, he says, you have access to the universal mind to develop any talent you might need along the way.
He also gives a pretty strong warning about, like, getting distracted by other ideas while you're trying this.
Yes, very specific advice there. Focus only on this book or materials that are completely aligned and optimistic. Avoid pessimism, avoid conflicting philosophical systems, and especially avoid dabbling in occult stuff that might confuse the issue or create doubt.
Why?
Because doubt or conflicting beliefs dilute your mental impression on the thinking stuff. You need focused, unwavering faith in this specific method while you're applying it.
It really does all boil down to aligning your thoughts and actions with these specific principles. He summarizes it at the end, right?
He does. A nice, concise recap, basically. Thinking stuff exists. Thought creates form. You can impress your thoughts on it.
Right.
Operate creatively, not competitively. Stay in harmony with the source through gratitude. Hold a clear vision, fixed purpose, steady faith, deep gratitude. Give thanks constantly.
And act?
Act. Creative energy flows through existing channels. Be active to receive it, more than fill your present place. Do everything you can do each day, efficiently. Give more use value than cash value radiate increase.
And the results?
Your riches will match the clarity of your vision, the fixity of your purpose, the steadiness of your faith, and the depth of your gratitude.
So, pulling it all together, Wattles, back in 1910, presented getting rich not as luck or talent, but this exact science, a certain way of thinking and acting, rooted in this idea of a responsive thinking substance.
Yeah, and the core shift is moving completely away from a competitive lack-based mindset.
To a creative one.
Yeah.
Focused on abundance, universal increase, adding value. So for you listening, the practical takeaways seem to be, get crystal clear on your vision. Hold unwavering faith it's coming. Practice constant, deep gratitude. Act efficiently and with full power in the present moment. Add value everywhere. Radiate increase.
That's the formula he lays out.
And his promise, his scientific claim, is that if you follow these instructions steadily, perseveringly, and to the letter, you will get rich.
It's a demanding path. Requires a big shift in how you see the world and how you operate day to day. Faith and diligent action.
Definitely a lot to think about. Here's a final thought, maybe building on Wattles' core idea. If the universe truly is this inexhaustible storehouse of riches, as he claims, always seeking more life, what does that suggest about the potential that's already inside you? And maybe your own role, your responsibility in this ongoing cosmic process of creation and abundance?